start with amendment in chapter 12, that is payment of tax. First one is amendment in rule 87 of CGST rules prescribing provisions relating to electronic cash ledger. Now what is given over here in Roman 1, the second proviso to subrule 2, which give an option to a person supplying OADR services from a place outside India to a non-taxable online recipient to generate challan through Both's payment system, namely, what is the name of that Both's payment system? Electronic accounting system in excise and service tax, has been omitted. Means one option was given to the person to the supplier of OADR services who is supplying OADR services from outside India to non-taxable online recipient. That person was given option to generate challan through the system, that has been omitted. The second proviso to subrule 2, which gives an option to that supplier, that has been omitted. Second proviso has been omitted. Now next one is subrule 9, provided that any amount deducted under section 51, that is TDS, or collected under section 52 and claimed in form GSTR 2 by the registered taxable person from whom the said amount was deducted, or as the case may be collected, shall be credited to his electronic cash ledger in accordance with the provisions of rule 87. Now one small amendment is there, that we just have to omit the word in form GSTR 2 and in accordance with provisions of rule 87, and then we have to read the subrule. So we'll read this as subrule 9 provides that any amount deducted under section 51 or collected under section 52 and claimed by the registered taxable person from whom the said amount was deducted, or as the case may be collected, shall be credited to his electronic cash ledger. That's it. Now this was the old amendment. See the notification dated. Its notification date is 28/6/19. Okay. Now this one is a new amendment. Notification dated 23rd March 20. This one is a new amendment. Refund of tax that has been paid wrongly or in excess by utilizing ITC. Okay. A new subrule 4A has been in this. What is there? Any tax which has been paid wrongly or any tax which has been paid in excess. So the registered person can claim the refund of that tax by utilizing ITC, means that excess amount, if it is found admissible, that will be credited to the electronic credit ledger. Okay. Now read, a subrule 4A has been inserted in rule 86 of the CGST rules to provide that where a registered person has claimed refund of any tax that has been paid wrongly or in excess through electronic credit ledger, the said refund, if found admissible, will be credited to the electronic credit ledger. So this completes our amendment in chapter 12, that is payment of tax. Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Hope you guys have started your final revision for November 20 exams. If not started yet, then please do start first, because very few days are left now. And keep these 3 things in mind. Just check that you are recalling the provisions, recalling whatever you are studying frequently or not, because by that you'll get to know how much you are able to retain. So recalling is very important. And next thing is test yourself. Like once you have completed syllabus, means completed at least 80 to 85% syllabus, test yourself. Solve any paper, solve mock paper, solve any term paper, evaluate yourself. So testing is very important. And third thing is that do make summary notes. It's very very important, because before 1.5 days before, means you just get 1.5 day before the exam. So in that much time it's not possible to revise the entire textbook line by line. If you are thinking that you will be able to complete the entire textbook in those 1.5 day, means you will complete the revision in those 1.5 day, then you are mistaken, guys. It's not possible to revise the entire textbook. So it's very important to make the summary notes of especially DT, IDT, law. It's very important to make summary notes. Either make your own notes or look for any teacher's summary notes. Okay, if you're able to purchase, and do purchase from the market, but summary notes are very important. And some students have the habit of making the summary notes in the textbook itself. Like they write the, like if there is a one paragraph there, then they write in short in 1 or 2 sentences. With that they revise, then that is also okay. But summary notes are very important. Hard work is important, but with that smart study is also important. Okay. Now let's start with unit 1. There are 2 units in this chapter. Unit 1 is payment of tax, interest and other amount, and unit 2 is TDS and TCS. So first we'll do the questionnaire of unit 1. Okay, payment of tax, interest and others. So first question, how many types of electronic ledger are there? Very simple, 3 ledger: electronic cash ledger, electronic credit ledger, and electronic liability register. Okay. Now second question is, what are the main features of GST payment process? Main features are what? This is answer. Main features of GST payment process are what? First, we pay the previous tax periods tax and other dues, then current tax period, then the demand as per 973 and 74, 73 or 74. Now read the answer. Order of discharge of tax and other dues. Subsection 8 prescribes the chronological order in which the liability of a taxable person has to be discharged. First is self-assessed tax and other dues for the previous tax periods have to be discharged first. Then self-assessed tax and other dues for the current period have to be discharged next. Once these two steps are exhausted, thereafter any other amount payable including demand determined under section 73 or section 74 to be discharged. Okay. In other words, the liability, if any, arising out of demand notice and adjudication proceedings comes last. Okay. In other words, the liability, if any, arising out of demand notice and adjudication proceedings comes last. That's why we pay the demand as per 73 or 74 after paying the previous tax period and current tax period tax. This sequence has to be mandatorily followed. The expression other dues referred above means interest, penalty, fee, or any other amount payable under the act or the rules made thereunder. Okay. Now third question. Explain the following terms in brief. EFPB. EFPB. What is this? EFPB. EFPB stands for Electronic Focal Point Branch. These are the branches of authorized bank which are authorized to collect payment of GST. Okay. These are the authorized branches, means branch authorized bank. These are the branches of authorized bank which are authorized to collect payment of tax. Means authorized bank authorize the branches to collect the payment of GST. Each authorized bank will nominate only one branch as its EFPB for pan-India transaction. Okay, each bank will authorize just one branch as its EFPB. So EFPB is basically the authorized branch which is authorized to collect the payment of GST. Now EFPB will have to open accounts under each major head for all governments. Any amount received by such EFPB towards GST will be credited to the appropriate account held by such EFPB. Major heads for all governments in CGST, SGST. So the amount which is received towards GST, like if CGST amount is received, that will be created to CGST account. SGST amount is received, that will be created to SGST account. In that way, for NEFT RTGS transactions, RBI will act as EFPB. Okay, for NEFT RTGS transaction, RBI will act as EFPB. RBI will collect that. Now next is CIN and CIPIN. See, what is CPIN? CPIN stands for Common Portal Identification Number. Full form of CPIN is Common Portal Identification Number. It is created for every challan successfully generated by the taxpayer. It is a 14-digit unique number to identify the challan. CPIN remains valid for a period of 15 days. Okay. When the challan is generated successfully, the CPIN is generated. Now CIN is what? CIN is challan identification number. It is generated by banks once the payment in lieu of generated challan is successful. Once the challan is generated, we'll make the payment, and once the payment is done, once the payment is successful, then challan identification number is generated by the banks. It is a 18-digit number, that is 14-digit CPIN plus 4-digit bank code. CIN is generated by the authorized banks or RBI when payment is actually received by such authorized banks or RBI and credited in the relevant government account held with them. When they are actually received and credited in the government account, then the CIN is generated. It is an indication that the payment has been realized and credited to the appropriate government account. Once the CIN is generated, then it indicates that the payment has been realized and it is credited to the government account. Okay. CIN is communicated by the authorized bank to taxpayer as well as to GST. So authorized bank communicate this CIN to the taxpayer as well as to the GST. So this completes our question number 3, CPIN, CIN and EFPB. We have discussed all these 3 terms. Now question number 4 is, are principles of unjust enrichment applicable for payment made under GST? Hope you guys know the meaning of unjust enrichment. So question is, are principles of unjust enrichment applicable for payment made under GST? Yes, principles are applicable. Answer number 4. Means no one is getting unjustly enriched. Read the answer. As per section 49(9) of CGST Act 2017, every person who has paid the tax on goods or services or both under this act shall, unless the contrary is proved by him, be deemed to have passed on the full incidence of such tax to the recipient of such goods or services or both. Means if the recipient has paid the tax on the goods, the recipient is only liable for the ITC. So every person who has paid the tax under this act shall, unless the contrary is proved, be deemed to have passed on the full incidence of such tax to the recipient. Okay. Now next one, answer number 5. So read question 5, then we'll do answer 5. State the name of output tax under GST where any of the input tax credit under GST can be availed. So that output tax under GST is IGST, where any of the ITC can be availed. See, answer number 5. IGST, CGST, SGST, UTGST, that is all input tax credit can be availed against output tax liability known as IGST. So IGST is only that output tax against which all output means against which all this input tax credit can be availed against this output tax. So question number 6 now. Can one use input tax credit for payment of interest, penalty and payment under reverse charge? No, input tax credit can be used only for payment of output tax. See the answer. No, as per section 49 subsection 4 of CGST Act 2017, the amount available in the electronic credit ledger may be used for making any payment towards output tax. As per section 2 subsection 82 of the CGST Act 2017, output tax means the CGST or SGST chargeable under this act on taxable supply of goods and or services made by him or by his agent, and excludes tax payable by him on reverse charge basis. Therefore, input tax credit cannot be used for payment of interest, penalty and payment under reverse charge. Okay. Now next question is question number 7, last question. ABC Limited filed the return for GST under section 39(1) for the month of November on 20th December, showing self-assessed tax of 2,50,000 which was not paid. So return was filed under section 39(1) for the month of November 20th December, that is okay, showing self-assessed tax of 2,50,000 which was not paid. So explain what are the implications of ABC Limited as per relevant provision. What are the implications? It is an invalid return, because if the tax is not paid and return is furnished, then it is an invalid return. See, as per section 2 subsection 117 of CGST Act, valid return means a return furnished under subsection 1 of section 39 on which self-assessed tax has been paid in full. Hence, in such a case, the return is not considered as a valid return, and also ITC, input tax credit, will not be allowed to the recipient of supplies, as the tax is not paid in this case. So it is invalid. So it is an invalid return, and also ITC will not be allowed to the recipient of supplies. Okay. Hope all answers are clear. Now we'll do the questionnaire of unit 2. Question number 1, chapter 12, unit 2. Okay. Question number 1 is, who is liable to pay GST? Explain in the context of general and special circumstance. Now in the general circumstances, supplier is liable to pay GST, and special circumstances are like in case of import, recipient. Now in case of TDS, TCS, TDS is that government, local authority, central government, state government, governmental agencies. TCS, in case of TCS, e-commerce operator. So let's read the answer. General rule is supplier of goods or services is liable to pay GST. Now specific circumstances. First one is import supplies. In case of import supplies, recipient of goods or services has to pay tax under reverse charge. Okay. Next bullet is, the government may, on the recommendation of the council by notification, specify categories of services the tax on intrastate supplies of which shall be paid by the electronic commerce operator if such services are supplied through it. Okay. Next one is TDS. If total value of supply under contract is more than 2.5 lakhs, then central and state government, local authority, government agencies is liable to deduct TDS and pay the same to the government. Now, one more specific circumstance is TCS. E-commerce operators are required to collect TCS on the aggregate value of the supply reduced by returns in a month. So, this four very specific circumstances. Okay. Next, question number 2 is, what will happen if the deductor fails to issue TDS certificate within the time prescribed? TDS certificate is required to be issued by the deductor within 5 days. So if it is not issued within 5 days, then after the expiry of 5 days, 100% per day, subject to maximum of 5,000, fine will be imposed. See, as per section 51 subsection 4 of CGST Act 2017, if any deductor fails to furnish to the deductee the certificate after deducting the tax at source within 5 days of crediting the amount so deducted to the government, the deductor shall pay by way of a late fee a sum of 100 rupees per day from the day after the expiry of such 5 days period until the failure is rectified, subject to a maximum amount of 5,000 rupees. Okay. Fails to issue TDS certificate in the time prescribed. Now next one is whether the rate of tax of one person notified under section 52 is CGST or SGST or a combination of both. It is a combination of both, 0.5% CGST and 0.5% SGST. Okay. And TDS is 1%, 1% under CGST, 1% under SGST. So see answer number 3. The rate of TCS as notified under CGST Act 2017 is payable under CGST, and the equal rate of TCS is expected under SGST Act also, in effect aggregating to 1%, means 1% in combination of both, 0.5% SGST and 0.5% CGST. Next is every e-commerce operator required to collect tax on behalf of actual supplier? Yes, every e-commerce operator is required to collect tax where the consideration with respect to the supply is being collected by the e-commerce operator. If e-commerce operator is collecting the consideration, then e-commerce operator is required to collect tax at source. Next, question number 5. State whether the provisions pertaining to tax collected at source under section 52 of CGST Act will be applicable in the below mentioned scenarios. So we have to state whether provisions of TCS will be applicable or not. First scenario is Titan sells watches on its own through its own website. Titan is selling watches through its own website. There is no involvement of intermediary in this case. So TCS provision will not be applicable. See the answer. As per section 52 of CGST Act, every e-commerce operator not being an agent shall collect an amount calculated at such rate not exceeding 1% as may be notified by the government on the recommendation of the council of the net value of taxable supplies made through it by other suppliers, where the consideration with respect to such supplies is to be collected by the operator. Okay. Hence, if the person sells on his own, provisions pertaining to tax collected at source, that is TCS, won't be applicable. If the person is selling on his own, then TCS provision won't be applicable. Now, second part, B, 5B. ABC Limited, who is a dealer of Titan brand, sells watches through Flipkart, an electronic commerce operator. Now, intermediary e-commerce operator, Titan brand ABC Limited is selling through e-commerce operators, so TCS provisions will be applicable. See the answer. If ABC Limited, who is a dealer of Titan brand, sells watches through Flipkart, then the provisions of TCS will be applicable to the e-commerce operator, that is Flipkart. Okay. So this completes our ICA questions of chapter 12, both unit 1 and unit 2. You will get to see my new videos very soon. So stay tuned to my channel, press the bell icon for latest updates, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel. And yeah, one important announcement: anyone willing to solve direct taxes questionnaire, means direct taxes illustrations and exercises of ICA study material for November 20 exams, then please do visit the link given in the description box. And see you in my next video. Stay healthy, stay happy, be a real human being, and spread lots and lots of love. Thank you. Bye bye. Take care.